Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. On this week's show, we're talking about Psychonauts 2 and Lake. Plus, we're excited to announce the winner in our 2021 Summer Backlog Attack.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Winners,
finally
aren't
wrap
we
that
all?
Thing up. We're all winners here at Video Game Hangover. Yes, that's true.
It's true. Yep. Anytime I clear a game out of my backlog, I feel like a winner.
Yeah. Take those small victories, whatever I can get.
End of summer. Summer's over. We are officially recording this on Labor Day. That is sort of the officially unofficial end of summer. How's your summer,
Is that
DJ?
true?
I feel like it is, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't know.
I'm always sort of
question
surprised
that.
in October when somebody says, today's the first day of fall. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you're
no,
incorrect. That's not true.
Don't give me that.
I've been drinking pumpkin spice lattes for 3 weeks, man.
Oh, no. Are you a big pumpkin spice guy? I feel like we've been over this.
I don't mind it. I like it. I don't drink the latte. I'm not a big fan of that at Starbucks. I like other things at Starbucks.
Oh, yeah, no, I should clarify. So, yeah, I'm big into pumpkin spice, just not the latte. For some reason, like, the coffee and the pumpkin mix is not for me.
I don't mind a pumpkin coffee. I like and I'm not a huge fan of flavored coffees even, but a pumpkin coffee is usually a good way to go. I like the Silk, I think, or Oatly or somebody makes like a pumpkin spice oat milk creamer. That's really good. I'm a fan of that. So
don't get me wrong, I wouldn't turn it down, but I don't. I'm not the one lining up for a Starbucks to open on whatever, like the 1st
July
of
5th?
August at this point for that pumpkin thing to come back.
Yeah, no, me either. My local Starbucks had a countdown. They had a little chalkboard that was like 5 days to the PSL, 4 days. I'm like, all right, come on, guys.
No, don't need it. Don't need it.
I'm sure they need it to help their business every fall, but yeah, it's not on my calendar. Yeah.
I will do pumpkin spice just about everything else.
I'll take that peppermint mocha though. Call me in
November
when that rolls out.
I'm lining up for that one. You can find me. I'll be the first in line.
Yeah. But yeah, I like pumpkin spice things in general. Cinnamon mostly. That's fine. That's good. I'll take that.
Sure.
Yeah. What did I have recently? Like pumpkin spice Special K or pumpkin spice Life or some cereal with pumpkin spice flavoring on it. I'm like, this is okay. This is not bad.
Yeah.
We might have gone too far. Yeah.
It just feels like such a dessert thing to me, and I'm not into like super sugary cereals, so I don't know if I would do that. I mean, I see it and I'm like, ooh, maybe this, but ultimately end up not buying it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't mind. I like pumpkin. I'll eat pumpkin stuff. I put pumpkin in things.
Yeah, I am ready for fall. I'm ready for pumpkin things.
I like pumpkin seeds. Those are good snacking. I'll eat those.
Oh.
Pumpkin seeds with pumpkin spice seasoning on them.
It's very postmodern.
Just tear a hole in the center of the universe with that combination.
Yeah. Huh.
Yep.
Okay, well, now I know what to do with all my pumpkin seeds. I usually like roast a bunch of pumpkins every fall.
Yep.
I'll just drop them in the mail.
Oh yeah, I'll eat those, absolutely. Sarah always wants to like scoop that stuff out and throw it away. No, let me pick through those guts. I want to save all the good parts.
Yeah. Oh, you even pick through the guts yourself? Well, then definitely. I'll just
just
put them in a Ziploc for you.
Slop those into a plastic bag and mail them to Pennsylvania. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
That is one of my go-to snacks if I have like a late night road trip or something like that, and I pop into here in Pennsylvania we have a Sheetz, which is the it's the combination grocery store snack shop kind of thing. You can get, fill up your tank and get a cup of coffee and mozzarella sticks or something stupid like that. But
my favorite, classic combination.
Yeah, I'll go for a little bag of pumpkin seeds. Those are good. I like those.
Yeah,
roasted and salted, please. Yeah. I
went through a not pumpkin seed, a sunflower seed phase because I was like, I'm gonna be like Fox Mulder, and I decided I'm not a huge fan. I'm not super into it.
I need them shelled. I can't do the work.
They're a mess. Yeah. They're a mess.
It's a lot.
But, if you want the whole persona, you got to do the, just play around with them in your mouth endlessly until you get the seed out. Or I don't know how it's supposed to work.
Yep. Yeah. You got to do the pencils in the ceiling tiles as well.
It's messy. Yeah. Well, I can even do that anyway.
But we should get back to the Summer Backlog Attack. We we have a winner to announce, right? We want to
We do.
congratulate Discord contributor Eshin for his amazing feat of backloggery this summer. The community was really quiet. We were really concerned that we were not going to have, a lot of people at the grand finale party for this one, and then everybody came out of the woodwork at the end.
It turned out they were just playing incredibly long games.
Right. So what were some of the games that Eshin played during his summer backlog attacks, DJ?
Well, I'm very happy with this. Very pleased when he started posting his screenshots because he's playing a game that's very near and dear to my heart, which is Final Fantasy XIV. He got through 3 expansions.
Whoa.
So starting with the original, with the quote-unquote original relaunch version of Realm Reborn. Then after that he played Heavensward, the critically acclaimed first expansion, and then finally Stormblood. And now I believe he said he's got plenty of time to finish up Shadowbringers before the new expansion, Endwalker, comes out in a couple months. So wow, that's a lot of prep, and it just happened to coincide with the backlog attack, so that worked out very well.
These are substantial undertakings, right? Obviously
This is substantial, yeah.
MMOs. It's a lot of hanging out with, strangers on the internet, but it's also like big expansion packs, right?
Yeah, to the point where I'm a little concerned that he did these so quickly. Like, I hope he was like eating and sleeping. Take care of yourself.
Are you concerned at all that maybe he just didn't enjoy it correctly? Is that maybe a concern?
I don't know. I would hope he enjoyed it if he's just blasting through these things. He has a goal in mind, just to get ready before Endwalker, it sounds like.
Gotcha.
But no, these are like, each expansion is essentially its own, like a full RPG's worth of content and like story stuff.
Nice.
And that's just the main story. I'm assuming that in order to get through all of these in sort of the 4 weeks that the backlog attack was going, that probably didn't delve into a lot of the side stuff, of which there is plenty, probably hundreds more hours of that. But if you're just going for, to complete the story, to get ready for the new stuff, then, you don't have time for all that other stuff. You can come back to that later.
You can go back and knit some gloves later.
Yeah, exactly. You worry about your crafting empire later on.
So kudos to Eshin, and big thanks to him for participating on the Discord and sharing his screenshots and talking about his games with us. He will win the upcoming video game of his choice, so we'll reach out to him and find out what that game is. Maybe it'll be that new Final Fantasy expansion.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be appropriate? In fact, I'm just going to put him down for that. I'm just send that to him.
Sure. And he'll let us know if there's anything else that's on his wish list, but that's a very exciting success story and quite a feat there. So kudos to Eshin. We want to throw out some honorable mentions to Ethos 711 and Cube 00, both from our Discord. They were tackling some big games this summer as well, like Witcher 3 and The Ascent. So kudos to those folks for playing through those games and popping into our Discord to tell them about it.
Yeah, The Witcher 3, enormous game. I haven't played it, but that's like the first thing anybody says. It's like, oh, The Witcher. Yeah, it's 1,000 hours long. So, again, very impressive.
Cool.
And because we asked people to provide their own little 10-word reviews or stories or whatever, I thought we could just read a few of those.
Oh, sure.
Since everybody, submitted their own along with their game over screen or end credit
They're
screen.
only 10 words long, so we've got plenty of time. Go for it.
Yeah, we can just, I'll read them very slowly and then we can wrap it up. But anyway, so I guess starting with Eshin, we have for Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, and Heavensward. He says, the game is better now than it was at launch. And boy, isn't that the truth. Quite a tumultuous history with this game. And then for Stormblood, he says, good, but not as good as Heavensward. Sure, that seems to be the community consensus. Looking forward to what he has to say about Shadowbringers when he gets to that. Moving on, we have Ethos 711, who says about The Witcher 3, great, but also grueling. How about a game of Gwent? I don't know if there's a specific way they say that in the game. Like maybe there's a character who says that in a funny way, but I hope I did that justice. And then finally, Cube 00 says we also played this game, The Takeover, and he says this is not Streets of Rage 4. It's not as good. Oof. I mean, that's tough though. I mean, it's hard to measure up to Streets of Rage 4. And then lastly, The Ascent. If Deus Ex was a top-down action RPG with aliens.
Ooh.
That sounds good.
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah.
I miss those the modern Deus Ex games. I don't have a lot of experience with the old ones, but the newer ones, that was a good series. I had a lot of fun with those, and it is unfortunate they're not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that first one is ready for a remake, since that's, everybody loves a remake these days.
we all are all wistful about things that happened 10 years ago. So, yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, anyway, very good little 10-word summaries.
Yeah.
And that, I believe that wraps it up. That was the 10th annual Backlog Attack.
Woohoo. We had a bunch of other folks from the community pop in on Twitter, pop into the Discord as well, and talk about some of the games they were working on. Not, official participants in the backlog effort, but also working on playing through some of their old games at their own speed. So big thanks to everybody who listens and chats with us and participates in any capacity. We're always super excited to hear that there are people on the other end of this thing who, want to chat back to us. So that's very cool. So thank you.
Yeah. All right, now just back to everybody's regular backlogs.
Right, exactly. Just the usual scrambling that we do to play everything. Yeah.
Yeah. How did we end up? I finished 2 of the games on my list. Wait, is that right? Yes, I did. I'm still in the middle of Again, and I've been playing quite a bit of Hollow Knight lately.
Nice.
Still having a lot of fun with that. I don't know if the end is near. Seems like, it's kind of exciting just not really having some expectation of how long a game is. So I'll probably just keep picking away at that.
I finished Burly Men at Sea, and I finished John Wick Hex.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. I like the John Wick game. It's a really good, kind of twist on what I sort of think are, pretty predictable tropes from a turn-based strategy game. I think it does some pretty interesting things with that. Mechanically a little janky, but the guts of the thing are compelling. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun with that. Did not finish Mass Effect. I don't know if I'll go back to that. I'm intrigued.
Oh no,
but there's a lot more of that to play, and I just don't know that if I'm that invested. And then Stardew Valley is a slow burn. I'm gonna have to make myself go back to that and dig a little deeper. But I'll confess I've not touched it in the last week or so.
Oh no!
Yeah,
you get ready for the pitchforks.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad game, guys. Calm down.
It kind of sounds like you're saying.
I know, right? Yeah. You said it with your eyes, Randy.
Oh well.
So yeah, I did okay. Listen, I was probably not going to finish every game on my list, but to have dipped in and explored enough to sort of feel satisfied by the experience, I'm cool with that. That's enough for me.
That's kind of been my approach to this thing, or just any game lately. Is I'm not as hyper focused on completing them these days, especially during the Backlog Attack. But it's more to me about going back and revisiting these sort of. I don't know what you call them. Undiscovered. What do they say? The undiscovered gems?
Sure.
Not uncut gems.
Hidden gems.
I'm hidden gems. There you go. Yes. Going back and revisiting the hidden gems in the backlog. Not the undiscovered gems.
The undiscovered countries.
The undiscovered, yes, thank you. The undiscovered country.
Cool. So, we'll be back next summer. So stick around, start assembling your lists now, and we'll roll up to this thing sometime next year.
I am looking forward to whenever we get around to doing the bad game backlog, which we briefly teased a couple of weeks ago. So
just play miserable games, yeah.
Just the worst games in their respective series. Maybe we'll
gotcha.
See
okay.
if we can cram that in at some point.
Remember pitching that, yeah. All right, yeah. We'll have to talk offline about.
Yeah, we have to
how
do
to
some
structure
planning
that.
on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn over to the community. What is your least favorite game in your favorite series of games?
Yeah.
Tag us back. Where should we start our hunt?
I don't know.
But kudos to Eshin. That's exciting.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations to everybody on finishing games.
Again, we're all winners.
Yeah. Huh.
So that brings us current. We can play new games again. We are free at last.
Yeah. I played a new game.
I did too. It was super exciting.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So I almost went back to I was just going to play Battlefield 4. That's nobody cares about Battlefield 4 at this
You're just
point.
going to do an unofficial 5th week of the Backlog Attack.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of my thing a lot of the time. I'll just go find some weird thing that nobody's talked about in 10 years.
Yeah.
But not this week.
No. Because there are new games that you're interested in.
Yeah. It turns out.
As luck would have it. So one of the games that is a recent release that I was super excited to play was Psychonauts 2. And I have hit this game pretty hard, I gotta tell you.
Oh.
I've
Harder
been playing,
than Stardew Valley, sounds like.
quite a bit harder than Stardew Valley, yeah. I love it. I adore it. I think it's probably one of the best video games I've played in a long, long time.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really good.
How is that possible, being the sequel to Psychonauts 1?
I'm a fan of Psychonauts 1. I have not played it in a long time. I don't know how well it's aged. I suspect not well. You're not a big fan of Psychonauts. If I remember correctly, you kind of bounced off that pretty hard.
I think this was actually, and somebody will have to go back and look this up, it might have been one of the first games I played, as part of the first Backlog Attack, or very early on. Mm-hmm. Because it's a pretty notable game, I feel like. People seem to enjoy it. But I just could not get into it. And I think part of the reason is I just don't really enjoy a lot of 3D platformers, especially these mascot style 3D platformers.
Yeah.
And also it was quite a few years after the original release. I feel like there were a lot of aspects that just did not work especially well.
Yeah. Yeah. As I'm playing through Psychonauts 2, I'm like, geez, I really should refresh my memory on Psychonauts 1. I want to replay it now. But I was watching some video of it on YouTube, and it's not an attractive looking game. Just visually, it's not aged really, really well.
It was PS2 era, original Xbox came out. Yeah. I don't know. I could definitely see some people, the fact that it had this whole narrative and it was kind of humorous felt like it would have been novel at the time. There were a lot of I feel like a lot of games were starting to do this. You had not Ratchet and Clank, or maybe Ratchet and Clank, but what's the other one? Jack and Daxter, which kind of felt like you were just playing a little Pixar movie.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think those are kind of the golden age of these kinds of games, of these sort of collectathon mascot platformer kind of games. Banjo-Kazooie, I would put in that list as well. I think they're definitely get a lot of credit for, taking the standard kind of Mario structure of a video game, jumping on platforms and stomping on bad guys and stuff like that, and adding, a lot more character and story to it. I think, Mario games in a lot of ways can sort of be summed up in 5 or 6 words, get to the castle, rescue the princess. Sure. But Psychonauts, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter really brought a lot more sort of complexity and character depth and humor and stuff like that to that kind of outline. So yeah, I think while maybe some of the graphics and some of the platforming and weird controls and stuff like that have not necessarily aged super gracefully in Psychonauts, I think what it kind of brought to the party was sort of unique and important for the time. Mm-hmm. So
I think that might have been it. That might be just where they lost me, because I'm playing a Mario game because I want to get all the stars or whatever.
Yeah.
And at no point am I just why is Mario going on vacation to this island? And what are the townspeople up to there?
I wish Mario and all of his friends would talk a lot more, right?
Yes. Yeah. I wish this game was fully voiced.
Everyone in the world,
except for Waluigi. I wish Waluigi was the only one who could talk, and it's just all the other characters have to listen to him.
That would be great. I kind of adore and hate the conceit in every Mario game where they have to give him a little companion, a little floating sprite, a little fairy or somebody that flies along with him and
and that's the character that talks for him.
Yeah, that sort of talks incessantly. I'm like, just make Mario talk. Why are we holding out?
I don't want Mario to talk though.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
But Psychonauts
Psychonauts
poses the question: what if
yeah.
Mario could talk?
Correct. There's Nintendo gets it right, obviously. Sort of, you're in the Mario experience for the thrill of the hunt, for the thrill of the collectathon, for how good those mechanics feel, and how tight and fun that platforming is.
Sure.
I think sort of the next generation of mascot platformers layered a lot more sort of humor and character and story on top of those things, and then that all sort of went away. Like they stopped making, they kept making Ratchet and Clank games for a long time, and they still do, but they stopped making Jak and Daxter games. They certainly stopped making Banjo-Kazooie games. A lot of those folks went on to make Yooka-Laylee, and that didn't go well. And so it's been kind of quiet. And then we've had sort of this reemergence with the Spyro collection coming back and the Crash Bandicoot collection coming back, and those games sort of being discovered probably in a lot of ways for the first time by new gamers. Seems kind of just right for a Psychonauts revival. Interestingly enough, we get a direct sequel. We get a game that sort of takes place 3 days after the events of the first Psychonauts.
Oh, wow.
With all of those things sort of fresh in the minds of everybody who is in the game, but certainly not in the fresh in the mind of me, who played that game 10 plus years ago. So I've had to do a lot.
It's weird that they like still didn't do like a re-release of the original, right? Like you can buy it on Steam and probably like Xbox backwards compatibility or whatever.
Right, yeah. You can get it on Xbox. I think you can still play it on PS4 and stuff like that, but you're basically playing the old version of it. You're playing the PS2 version of it. You're playing the original Xbox One version of it.
I just was not expecting it to be that much of a direct sequel. That's an interesting approach to it.
Yeah. There's a VR game that they released in between, the Rhombus of Ruin. I've not played it because I don't have a VR rig, but again, this game sort of plays directly after those events and assumes that you know what happens in them, and I do not. So again, had to read some wikis. It's not super dense. I mean, the game catches you up a little bit, but if you really want kind of like details, there's an additional character that kind of appears for the first time in Rhombus of Ruin that is not in the first Psychonauts, that figures prominently in the early hours of Psychonauts 2. And I'm like, who's this guy? So I had to look him up, and he's from a game I didn't play.
Why do they do that?
It's weird. It feels like there should be like a previously on at the beginning of this or something, with all the resources available to Double Fine, the developer here, now that they are Microsoft subsidy. You would think somebody at some point would have said, maybe we should catch people up on the last 10 to 12 years of Psychonauts. Yeah,
that's so weird. I mean, especially if it's the thing... the little thing that you put out to bridge the story is like VR exclusive.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so like 100 people will probably play that. Great.
Exactly. I even did like some research on like, can I play it without a VR headset? Can I just play it in 2D? And it does not appear to be the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, people of the community. If you know a way around that, let me know. But it seems like you kind of have to have a VR headset to experience that thing.
I was hoping you were going to say you were researching prices on a VR setup.
I am not. No. I do want to play that Half-Life game. I've heard that's really good, but 2 games does not warrant a massive video game expense or console expense.
At least you've got the 2 games. It's down to like $500 a game in that case.
Man, are those things going for $1,000? How much is a PlayStation VR headset?
I think, so I looked up the Valve one when everybody was talking about Half-Life Alyx, because I was like, it's the pandemic, not spending money on stuff. Right. How much could this possibly cost? And it costs a lot.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, I did not end up buying a VR headset.
Yeah. So, Psychonauts 2, catching me up. I just jumped in and dodgy memories of the original game and not played the VR bridge game, notwithstanding, quickly got up to speed, sort of reacquainted myself with controls and stuff like that. It does a lot from a kind of mechanical standpoint and a character introduction standpoint to sort of fill you in on who these people are. For those who don't know, you are Rasputin, aka Raz. You're a little kid who has psychic abilities abilities. In a world where that is a thing that is still relatively uncommon, you have aligned yourself with a group of secret agents who use psychic abilities to, thwart crime and track down people who use their psychic abilities in the world for kind of nefarious gains.
Wasn't he at like psychic camp or something in the first one?
Your family is in the circus. They are circus performers, and they don't like psychics. So you have hidden your ability for all of your youth, and then ran away to psychic summer camp, which is run by this secret agent organization to look for new recruits, to look for interns.
Oh, it's run by the secret. Okay, got it.
That's the first game. That's Psychonauts 1. In Psychonauts 2, your family knows you're a psychic. Your family knows you've run away. They come looking for you. You're trying to hang out with all your cool psychic friends, and your, carny folk family comes looking for you, so that you deal with a little bit of embarrassment there. But they do an interesting bit of work in sort of reincorporating Raz's family back into his life at this point, and he's not just a weird orphan with psychic abilities. And you now have access to all of the what they call the mother lobe, the giant, essentially kind of office complex, the bureaucracy built around this secret agent collective that does all of these things all around the world. There might be a mole in your midst. There's a mystery that you are trying to uncover, and you are working with your professors and classmates to track down who among you is sort of releasing secret information to the outside world, and maybe aligning yourself with sort of darker psychic forces in the world.
You'd think that wouldn't be an issue if everybody is psychic, but
you would think, yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe it's not that kind of psychic, yeah. And then, you do platforming things. You basically run around the office and jump on stuff and look for secret things. You have entire access to sort of the world outside. So you have kind of the woods beyond, what they call sort of the questionable forest. So it's this weird forest where strange things happen. The waterfall flows uphill, and things like that. And you explore that. Lots of platforming, lots of new abilities and things that you can kind of unlock to make getting around a little bit easier. Your ability to sort of connect with random thoughts in the universe to propel yourself through the air. You look for figments of people's imagination, which are little shadowy figures hidden all over the world that you collect. You sort through people's emotional baggage, which are little hidden suitcases and hat boxes that are missing their luggage tags. So you have to collect them and match them up. It's a collect-a-thon, don't get me wrong. There's a million things in the universe that you are looking for, all while trying to sort of ferret out the mole among you.
Was that a big component of the first one? Like, I don't have a great memory of that game, but I don't remember there being like, I don't know what it would have been, like coins everywhere, for instance.
Yeah, it is. That's just the Mario parallel. I think those things are in there. I don't know that there are this many of them. There are a lot of them in Psychonauts 2. And most of them are sort of like in your path. You will get, 85% of them probably by the end of this game by just sort of running around and doing, missions and sticking to your kind of script. But if you want to explore, if you want to sort of, look in every nook and cranny of this thing, this is where you're going to find kind of the hidden 15% probably. So yeah, I guess, your mileage may vary if you're the type of person who likes collecting all of the things in a video game. Most of them are not tied to anything other than just a number in a menu.
What?
Where it'll say like there's 45 figments in this area. And if you're the type of person who wants all 45 of them, you look for them. And when you get the 45th, you get a little pop-up on the screen that says you have collected 100% of the figments in this area. Some of them are tied to upgrades, so it's worth it to sort out all the little, there's little psychic collector cards, trading cards that are hidden all over. And those, if you get 5 of those, you can upgrade, your pyrokinesis skill or your ability to practice clairvoyance on woodland creatures and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, some of them are important, and you have to find them. But most of them are just items on a checklist for you to cross off.
There was a point in Anodyne 2, it was a game I played earlier this year, where something happens in the plot, and then a new character appears, and he's supposed to be like, I forget how they describe him, but sort of like more or less like a motivational speaker. And he's like, well, notice people are not super engaged in the world, what's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to put coins everywhere. And they don't do anything, but maybe you'll feel better if you pick them all up. And then from that point on, there are just coins all over the place. And sure enough, I don't think they actually do anything.
Oh, that's funny.
But you see them out there, and like that weird part of your gamer brain is just like, oh,
right,
gotta get all the coins.
Are they not even like currency? You can't like spend them in a shop somewhere or anything like that? It's just a...
I feel like there may have been some very like not incredibly worthwhile reward for collecting certain amounts of them, but it was nothing like, at no point were you just like, oh, I need to get all these coins. You really felt like this is clearly just a play on every other game that has 100 things to pick up in every level.
That's kind of funny and clever.
Yeah, no, the game was really good about that sort of thing. But consequently, I just cannot take any other game seriously now if it has 100 coins.
Yeah, and I think that little element kind of goes back to, you know, the Spyro the Dragons of the world, or the Banjo-Kazooies of the world, where, again, there were just, you know, little things all over the place that were just a delight to kind of ferret out and find secret hidden areas. And there's a ton of that stuff in Psychonauts, and Psychonauts 2, where, you know, you're running down a path, and like, you know, a little pattern in the brick wall will look a little off, a little different, and you have to sort of figure out which one of your abilities will, you know, break down the brick wall and lead to a secret cave beyond, and a platforming challenge, and at the end of the platforming challenge is a little collectible as a thing that you cross off a list. And, you know, it's just a little diversion, a little extra challenge if you're game for that.
Sure. I mean, I can get behind that. That's sort of more the later Mario style, where they're like the 3 big coins. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And not at all like maybe this sort of is an example of it at its worst, when the Assassin's Creed game just started hiding, you know, 100 feathers throughout the course of the game, just in random places, and they did, if I remember correctly, nothing.
Oh no, you got an achievement for it. That is something. You want those achievement points.
Got to get that cheese. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, there's that. The best part, the hook, the central kind of mechanic of Psychonauts and Psychonauts 2 now, is essentially the plot of Inception, where you go into someone's brain to help them do a thing, to sort out some information, to deal with some degree of angst or some cluelessness or something that they've forgotten, a memory that they've suppressed. And you go in and you kind of, you know, you poke around in their skull a little bit, and you know, deal with their mental demons in a lot of ways, and that leads to some combat and fun stuff like that, a lot of exploration. Each character kind of has their own very kind of custom headspace, and those are really unique and really kind of well tailored to the character that you're kind of exploring. One of the characters that you pop into the head of early is a dentist, and you go into his brain, and it's just teeth everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's super creepy and weird, because a lot of people have dental things, and the more I sort of look at it, the more I feel off about it. It's a little unnerving. But
wait,
like,
what do you mean dental things?
Like, well, people have like weird feelings about their dentist or about teeth.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like dental implants or something.
Oh, no. I just sort of like people have like dental phobias, I think.
Got it. Yeah. No, I can see that.
Yeah. And so to like be in a world where like, you know, the bricks in the streets are basically made of teeth and stuff like that is one sort of like a really kind of admirable dedication to, you know, exploring something to its nth degree, but is also, you know, kind of creepy and weird. Another character whose brain you explore is a band leader, and he was a kind of a 1970s kind of psychedelic rock star. So everything in his brain is kind of far out and kind of trippy, man. That person is voiced by Jack Black, of course, and you get him doing his, you know, his rock star best, basically. But But yeah, so that's a lot of fun. There's another character who is can't handle pressure. Just it has to be sort of in an isolation chamber all the time because he hears the voices of everything. He can hear people's thoughts. He can hear what animals are thinking. So it's too much information. So he locks himself in kind of a psycho-isolation chamber so he doesn't have to hear other people's thoughts. So you go into his brain to kind of help him with that. And in his brain, the intensity of that kind of constant input is depicted as a cooking show, where he is constantly under pressure to prepare some really difficult to assemble dish under really difficult circumstances. And you work with him as basically his sous chef to help him sort of prep and prepare these really ridiculous and crazy and kind of extreme recipes. And all of those are sort of done as kind of platforming challenges where you have,
of course.
You have to jump around and climb the brick wall next to the giant blender to throw in a strawberry and then carry the strawberry puree on a grind rail down to the plate where you serve it up and the judges judge you at the end. And, so it gets into a little bit of chopped or what's the game? Overcooked in a lot of ways. But it's this kind of really unique take on like, what does pressure look like in this person's brain? How do they deal with sort of the intensity of kind of being in the spotlight?
Yeah, that's a really creative sort of interpretation of it.
And the game is a ton of fun. Like, I wished it would keep going. I sort of finished it. I got through all this. I think there's 4 tiers to the challenge. You go 4 dishes you prepare. And I'm like, this is a full video game. I would play the hell out of this if this was the whole thing.
That's not just Overcooked?
It might just be Overcooked. I might have to just go play Overcooked, I think. Yeah. But if Double Fine wanted to make just a Psychonauts themed cooking game, I'd be all over that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So all of these brains that you go into, are all haunted by their own thing, are all haunted by some element, something that sort of makes life for them difficult. And you go through and clear out of the cobwebs and help sort of help work with them to sort of achieve some degree of acceptable social functioning. So it's kind of interesting in that way and a little heavy sometimes, and the game knows it. Like it doesn't take mental health things lightly. So you do get moments of sort of pretty serious kind of introspection. Nothing that ever kind of gets in the way of the fun that you're trying to have, but it knows what it's about. And I give it a lot of credit for sort of being self-aware in that way.
I gotta say, this sounds more and more like Anodyne 2. It's not expecting that connection.
Maybe I need to look up Anodyne 2 then. But yeah, so this game is just a delight. Just everywhere I go, every new area I get access to, every character I meet is just kind of fun and interesting and really well written and really well voice acted. Beyond Jack Black, Elijah Wood has a character here. All of your professors and classmates have really good voice acting. Raz, the central character, is John Horvitz does his voice, and he's the voice of Invader Zim, which... Yeah, I never made the connection on until just recently. He also does the voice of Mr. Zircon in the Ratchet and Clank games. So apparently I'm a huge Richard Horvitz fan and didn't know it until just recently. So that's super cool. He's great. Raz's family is awesome. He has a huge extended family, and they're all kind of circus folk, and they're all very sort of eccentric and fun. So and again, anytime I sort of have an opportunity to kind of interact with one of these characters as I'm running around the world, it's quick, it's light, it's a lot of fun, and I don't find myself sort of hammering the X button to get through dialogue. I want to see what these characters say and interact with them and hear what kind of lines they have written for them and stuff. It's just, again, It's a world I really like being in, and I like talking to all these characters. I really having a really, really good time with it. The platforming is tight. The powers are a lot of fun to play with. There are even sort of little conceits where you go in and it just turns into a battle arena. You'll just go into, there's like these devices hidden in the woods, collecting psychic energy, and they're overloading. So you have to kind of like project yourself into them to sort of clear out the mess inside. And the mess is like wave after wave of enemy chasing after you, and you have to use all of your powers and skills and abilities to deploy them. And I hate that.
And you like those?
I'm not a fan of that.
Like the game that got you to like battle arenas.
Yeah, I generally cannot stand that in a video game. And I like playing with the powers in Psychonauts 2 so much that it's just a fun opportunity to kind of spam all of my abilities in one shot. Generally, you kind of have like, okay, for this area, I'm going to use clairvoyance. For this area, I'm going to use pyrokinesis. And you're using, pyrokinesis to sort of burn down tapestries to get to hidden areas behind them and stuff like that. But the battle arenas just use all of them. You really just kind of have to roll through all of your arsenal as they're all on cooldown, waiting for the next one to warm up and go, what else do I have? What else can I use? So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I think sort of a testament to kind of the product that the Double Fine has kind of created here, that just even kind of exploring all of those powers and abilities in a room full of bad guys chasing after you is still kind of fun and compelling to somebody who doesn't like that in a video game. So
yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Is the way it handles the powers, or just like sort of the moment-to-moment gameplay, is it pretty similar to Psychonauts 1? I don't remember how the game worked, other than like you would jump on things. But I'm just wondering how much they mix it up, because it has been such a long time since the original.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember that well enough either, unfortunately. That's one of the things that makes me kind of want to go back and re-explore it, because I find that part of Psychonauts 2 super compelling, and I don't remember if that was a part of Psychonauts 1. You have a pretty huge arsenal. You have essentially like a weapon wheel in a lot of ways. You push up on the D-pad, and it brings up a circle that you can kind of use the thumbstick to rotate through, and that allows you to sort of assign 4 powers at once to the... 2 left triggers and 2 right triggers, and you use those to deploy. So you don't have the ability to sort of use everything in one shot, unfortunately, so you don't equip everything at once. Probably for the better. I don't know if you'd have enough buttons on a controller to do that, but you can change them pretty quickly. So if something's on a cooldown, you can just push up on the D-pad, select the next thing to replace it, and kind of cycle through them as they're cooling. I don't remember if that was a part of Psychonauts 1. I feel like I remember the arsenal being fairly narrow in that game. I certainly don't remember kind of, having to equip powers and stuff like that at specific times. I remember them all sort of being available. So maybe there weren't this many. I could be wrong on that. That's just maybe a dodgy memory from many years ago. But in Psychonauts 2, you're definitely dealing with kind of more powers than you can realistically equip in one shot.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it sounds cool. And I don't know if it's just because, like, I don't have a good memory of the first one, or maybe I just didn't play it long enough to unlock all these powers.
Yeah.
I feel like I played that game for a while, but none of this sounds familiar to me. I was just curious. I feel like I really enjoy a sequel a sequel that is just sort of revisiting the same systems as the first one is fun. But I also really like when they just take the opportunity to really mix it up. Like Zelda 2 would be an extreme example, but it would be like, oh man, I love Psychonauts 1. Wasn't it crazy though when like Psychonauts 2 was, I don't know, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up or something? That doesn't make any sense, but just like big departure over the original, or just like a refinement of what was going on.
Yeah, this is certainly an expansion. I think the scope of this is much, much bigger. The areas, I mean, obviously sort of, it's been a long time since that original Psychonauts game. It would be silly if you were confined to just the summer camp again. In Psychonauts 2, it's just massive. You have all these complexes and all the woods outside, the canyon outside, essentially, of the Mother Lobe. You have the woods beyond. There's sort of the hidden forest and stuff like that inside that. All of that has caves and things for you to explore that have hidden things in them. So it just, it continues to unveil deeper and darker places for you to explore. Not to mention sort of everybody whose brain you kind of go into is its own separate, essentially, open world for you to explore and collect all the pieces of. So yeah, it feels like a kind of a massive experience in a way that I don't think the first one, Psychonauts, ever felt like a big kind of grand scale experience. You go back to the summer camp. In fact, there's a memory in this that you go into, somebody's brain, that takes you back to the summer camp from the first Psychonauts. And I'm not sure if it's a one-to-one recreation of it, but it just feels microscopic by comparison to the scale of everything else that you're encountering in Psychonauts 2.
Were you doing missions for like the secret society in Psychonauts 1, or is it mostly the camp?
I think you were doing missions. I don't think it was under the sort of guise of you being a secret agent. You were still very much sort of aspiring to that. But, if you put a bunch of psychics together at a summer camp, something might happen. You know what I mean? So I think the hook there, and I would have to go back and replay it to find out, was you trying to sort out kind of what shenanigans were happening at the summer camp. I remember you had a coach who was up to some no good, was using psychics to like create like battle tanks or objects of war or something like that. So he was kind of secretly conditioning the campers to pilot these tanks that he could deploy during combat. So you were trying to shut that down. So there was a conspiracy at the summer camp that you and you alone could only, as an 11-year-old boy, could only sort of solve. The scope of it is much bigger in Psychonauts 2. It's sort of global intrigue and stuff like that. So it feels much more like kind of a secret agent kind of thing in Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of the shift I'm looking for. Well, it's like very small scale in the first one, and the second one it's like, oh, now you're just a full-fledged member of this, like the Men in Black or whatever. That's what it sounds like. So that's cool.
You feel like you are. You feel like as Raz you should be. But your teachers still very much view you as an 11-year-old. So you do kind of get moments where you're like, oh, you're our junior agent. You're the intern. So they kind of minimize your impact. But meanwhile, you have kind of, all of these abilities. You're sort of the most powerful psychic in the room.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't that didn't come out and just completely flop, because I know people have been sort of waiting for this, or just more Psychonaut stuff for a very long time.
The fact that this even exists sort of feels like a minor miracle. I know the first Psychonauts didn't sell great, and it's one of those things that sort of caught on over time, but I don't know if developers like Double Fine make money off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So off of people discovering your game 10 years later or whatever. But the fact now, I think that sort of Double Fine is part of the Microsoft camp, and they have sort of that support and that sort of financial influx, makes me think that, hey, maybe there's a future for Psychonauts. Maybe that we're going to get more of these. And if they all sort of hit this bar for quality and sort of sense of world and place and exploration and character, then that's a very, very good thing.
I mean, I hadn't even considered that. Maybe they'll just like next year Psychonauts 3 Tokyo Drift, and then they're off to the whole franchise.
The Psychonauts kart racer, inevitably. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So what a delight, man. Just has been so much fun to sort of like really tear into this world and really find myself super hooked on this video game. And particularly after sort of like, kind of feeling lukewarm about the last 5 or 6 games that I've kind of explored, to, find something that really just kind of pushes the button perfectly for me is I don't know what, man, reminds me how much I like playing video games.
Oh, wow. It's quite a statement.
It is. And man, I still have Ratchet and Clank to play this year. So at some point I will have a PS5 and man, I cannot wait to play Ratchet and Clank, because I've heard that's really, really good. And sort of, again, this reminder of like, man, how good can these games be? What a treat.
What a treat. Speaking of treats.
Yeah. I
played this game Lake, developed by this developer I've not heard of, called Gamius. I think that's pronouncing it correctly, from the Netherlands. It's interesting.
Ah, cool.
You heard of this, I think. This first caught wind of this during the that Wholesome Direct earlier this year.
Yeah.
The premise is you work for a software company. It's not totally clear like what you actually do for them, like whether your main character is like a programmer, or it seems like a lot of the time she's just reviewing documents for other people at the company. So a little unsure of that, but basically she's got this fancy big city job, and then for a couple weeks during late summer, she heads over to her parents' place in Oregon to look after their place and fill in for her father on his mail delivery route in this small town around this lake.
Yeah. So
you play as Meredith, the software employee, just kind of experiencing this huge shift in going from working at this big, like, high-pressure job to a very small town doing a delivery route and possibly meeting people in this community along the way, just for a couple weeks.
And then zombies come.
And then there are zombies, but, that's the big finale.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I ruin the ending? I apologize.
No, they're not actually zombies. At least not that I ran into.
It's a cozy game. It's a wholesome game, so it's not meant to be one of those zombie shooter games.
Yeah, and they're very wholesome zombies when they do appear.
And you're on the mail route, so it's like you're driving around, tearing up people's lawns and.
Well, yeah. Zombies need mail too. People send them letters, and I don't know.
Sorry, I'm off the path on this, but that is not at all what this game is about.
It's you do deliver mail, and that is sort of the core of the game. Where every morning, you head over to the post office, or rather, you just start at the post office, and you get your mail truck and a list of deliveries you have to make for the day. And that's just sort of how it's sort of an excuse to get you going out and around this community. Like at first just delivering mail and familiarizing yourself with everything. But along the way, you start to meet people and they tell you about their backstory and sort of what they're up to. Because Meredith lived in this town, she grew up here. Mm-hmm. So she has history here, but then she moved away, went to the university, got this big fancy job. And now she's back. So there's a little bit of just coming back to the hometown and kind of reacquainting yourself with everybody. And
hey, what have you been up to?
Yeah. I'm like, oh man, what would things have been like if I had just hung out here like a lot of these people instead of going off to the big city? A lot of introspection happening in this game.
Sure. Interesting.
But it starts off as kind of like a mail delivery simulator, not as hardcore as some of the other simulators that are out there, I'm sure, but you do spend a lot of time driving this truck around. And the opening hours of the game, I found myself in a lot of situations where it was like, oh man, got to remember to get the package out of the back of the truck or whatever. Or my favorite was I was supposed to deliver a letter to this house, but it was on the corner of two streets, at the intersection of two streets. And I couldn't tell if it was a bug in the game, but it seemed like the letter was addressed to the same number house, but on the cross streets. So I was just thinking oh man, you really don't want to deliver this letter to the wrong house. What if these are the critical decisions that mail carriers have to put up with every single day? It's oh man, I was not expecting this.
Oh wow.
But it's actually very stress-free. There's not really any way you can fail the mail delivery. At least not that I ran into, because it feels like
maybe you're
the
just
game
a
is
very good
open.
Postal carrier.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just great at it. It'll generally only prompt you to put a letter in the mailbox if it's the correct house. And it's a pretty cautious driver. I never really got into any fender benders in the mail truck or anything. But the whole time I was thinking, how badly could this go if I just decided to let it go that way? Could I just drive my truck into the lake or drive head on into oncoming traffic? Well, what would happen then?
That's why it's called Lake, right?
yeah, exactly. That's the real climactic final chapter.
Right. How much mail do you have to deliver before you just drive it right into the lake?
Yeah, before you just had enough.
Yeah.
But no, I was really into sort of Meredith's journey here. And I tried to keep it in character. Where part of the reason she's here is just to get away from the craziness at her job. And sure enough, you'll finish your mail runs for the evening and have a little time to yourself at home. Sometimes it'll ask you so do you want to watch TV? Do you want to read a book to sort of wind down? And occasionally you will just get a phone call from, I guess, your boss at the company who's oh, Meredith, how's it going? I found some more stuff that maybe you could do while you're, just hanging out over there. Just oh, this guy. So a lot of it is you start to get this feeling oh, maybe this is where she's supposed to be. Maybe she should just hang out in this sleepy little Oregon town and not go back to deal with this insufferable guy, because this sounds awful.
Well, bosses who expect you to work on vacation, just say no to that bullshit right away. Just shut that down.
Yeah. No, I was for the sake of this game, I was okay, I'll do it, because there's nothing else going on in the evening. And I want Meredith to be a model employee and everything, but it really rubbed me the wrong way. This guy kept calling. It's oh, found some more contracts to sign.
Yuck.
Yeah. So that was, the guy was kind of gross. But so beyond the mail delivery aspect, though, you end up just meeting the people and all the characters around the town, and as you get to know them, they'll have like new tasks for you to do. Like a lot of them just boil down to doing a delivery, as it turns out, which works out very well. but it got kind of fun keeping track of everything that people had going on, because like eventually you start getting invited to like, well, let's go like grab drinks after work, or there's like an open mic night happening. Maybe we'll go to that, and you gradually start filling up your little social calendar for the 2 weeks that you're in this town.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was interesting. It got to the point where it gives you a little planner of just like what's happening that day, aside from like your mail delivery route, and it'll write down anything that you've committed to. But at like towards the end of the game, there were just so many things going on, and for whatever reason, it doesn't let you bring up your planner while you're in the middle of a conversation with someone. Probably because that's not very polite.
It's just rude, yeah.
But like somebody would be like, "Oh, we should go like fishing sometime," and I've just had to think, "Oh, am I already committed to doing something? Like, I think I was supposed to watch somebody's kid. I should not go fishing." But it sounds great. I was really trying to just say yes to everything that was happening in the game, because like otherwise she's just going to end up hanging out at home and watching a movie, and that's fine. But I feel like you should just try and spend more time with people in the town. So I would just end up agreeing to do everything. Luckily, it didn't really get me in any trouble, but that was kind of an unexpected sort of angle.
Oh no, I'm double booked.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, oh man, how can I cut this short so I can go back home and like feed the cats or whatever?
Right. You have to babysit for somebody's kid while taking them to open mic night.
Yeah, exactly. So it was interesting. That's kind of how I expected the game to go. It feels like it's supposed to be like a little snapshot of just spending 2 weeks in a small town doing a little job like this.
Yeah.
It feels like maybe one of the only issues I had with it, though, is, and this happens in a lot of games like this, I feel like, where it's sort of this pseudo choose-your-own-adventure style thing, is that, I don't know if it's just because the game itself is not very long, or they really want to get you through all these little sub-stories, or they want them to play out to their sort of logical conclusions. But there are a few situations where it just felt like maybe some of the plot lines were a little more accelerated than they would normally be. Because there are definitely a few where it felt like you could like start a romantic relationship with one of the other characters in the town. Mm-hmm. And those, like, whenever those pop up in a game, even if the game is like handling it better than sort of your average like BioWare kind of like, sleep with your crewmates sort of deal in Mass Effect, like even the ones who have done it the best sometimes it feels a little forced to me. Yeah. Where it goes from just, I'm having this cool conversation with one of the other characters, and suddenly one of them will drop a line and was like, "Oh man, well, really becoming quite fond of you," and it's like, "Whoa, that's kind of abrupt." Right. And I understand that is like, it feels like a bit of a necessity in order to get the plot thread where it's supposed to go in the small amount of time they have in this game, but that sort of thing always strikes me as a little like video gamey and awkward. So there are a few instances of that, but it also made me wonder, like, maybe
everyone's real fast in this town. Everyone's like, we haven't seen new people here in a long time. You're kind of a hot commodity, so we're all going to take our shot as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
she's only here for 2 weeks. Got to make your move.
My dance card is full.
It made me kind of think, though, maybe the best way to approach this is to just take every opportunity to like the most extreme degree, because I was like, what was I talking about? Yeah, just like agreeing to do everything that everybody suggests you do. I'm like, sure, that's fine, but also then just do it the most, like to the nth degree, as you're saying. Like at one point, you're helping somebody do a radio promo, and they do one take of it, and you go, oh, I feel like you could punch it up a little bit. And it got to the point where I was kind of okay with it. I'm like, I think that's good. But then there was still the opportunity or like the conversation option to just keep going and make it like even more sensational and dramatic, which I didn't end up doing. But for the entire rest of the game, I was just thinking, oh, what if I had done that? Like, what could possibly have happened?
Just be the most hardcore, the most enthusiastic person about everything in town, yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of questions about sort of the choices that I didn't make. Like, what would have happened if I had just stayed at home and just been completely antisocial and never gone out with anybody?
Yeah.
That would have been a weird 2 weeks.
It seems like that's an option, though, right?
Yeah, no, you could totally do that. Also, you could just be incredibly rude to everyone. And be like, they'll give you the option to just like end conversations and just tell people like, oh, I'm not interested in whatever you're talking about at all. I'm gonna leave. I just thought, well, that seems like such a poor fit for Meredith and her character, so I definitely don't want to do that. But I was just imagining like you could do a pretty ridiculous playthrough of this if you just did the Mass Effect thing and did like the evil character after you did the first run through.
Is the game quick enough, short enough, playable enough to be able to kind of do another run through and make some antisocial choices?
It's not super long. I got through the whole thing in maybe 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not like going through an entire Mass Effect game,
right?
That sort of commitment. But maybe a little longer than just kind of replaying it on a whim. But I am very curious to just see the other outcomes. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe I'll give it a try. It does feel like it did a pretty good job at the end of sort of referencing a lot of the decisions you made, which I thought was very cool. A lot of games just don't do that very well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had a pretty good time with it. I felt like the just driving from one location to the next was a nice sort of gave a nice kind of breather between all the like the dialogue sections. So it was like balanced pretty well in that regard.
Cool. That sounds interesting. Sounds compelling. I have the demo for this. That Xbox did like a indie game fest a couple months ago, and they had sort of these limited time demos for all of these kind of upcoming indie games. And this was one of them. And then I remember reading that the game itself is not crazy long, so don't spend all your time in the demo. Just play the game. So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna wait then.
Yeah.
So I figured I would wait for the whole thing to roll out, and here it is. So I'm intrigued by this. It sounds, I don't know what it sounds like. Thematically, I like the idea of like occupying the space of somebody who kind of goes back to their hometown. It's kind of one of the things that I like about A Night in the Woods, is that your character there has kind of, failed out of her life and ends up in her little town back home. And you have all of these sort of like experiences and all of this history with people who are like, why are you here? I thought you went away. And I have a sort of a unique experience in kind of going back to my little hometown in Connecticut and like, oh, I used to hang out there and all my friends, live there or work there. And it just feels like this place that like I have such an intimate connection to, but I have not been part of for so long. And it has kind of gone on and not gone on without me. So just, yeah, I don't know. I like that. I sort of hearing about kind of other people's take on that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting considering, like, as I was playing this, I didn't know who the developer was really. Just learning that they're from the Netherlands and like not from like Oregon. Right. That's interesting. I mean, the game still like comes off like it works really well, but I just thought that was like an interesting detail.
Does everybody have faintly Nordic accents or anything like that? Or
no, I was waiting for that to happen. In fact, like, so Meredith herself sounds like slightly more. She's got like 1% of that sort of Midwestern accent, which it's like I don't know about that because so she's from Oregon. I don't know if that's a thing up there. And then she was living in I forget if they actually name whatever the big city was since she was going to university. But I thought that was kind of funny. She seemed like just a little bit folksier than I would expect. I don't know. I don't know where that accent comes from exactly. But yeah, so interesting mentioning just like the theme of going back to like a hometown seems like something that comes up in more and more video games lately. It made me think of that like in last year, Tell Me Why, the Don't Nod game.
Oh,
was kind of a similar deal. Although, in comparison, like, that game was so much drama happening in that game. And, like, murders and mysteries and things. And this one is just, everybody's, like, so happy to see you, and nothing terrible ever happens in this town. So, again, it's like, it's definitely a wholesome game. So, don't expect the sort of, like, drama of a Life is Strange or something like that.
Right.
It's really just about kind of, like, kicking back and delivering some mail.
Which is kind of probably your favorite part of Death Stranding, so it's nice to be able to...
Oh, yeah, I love it. No, if only Meredith had the option to, like, climb over a mountain or something, or go down a zipline. I actually thought, the game is so unstructured in terms of how you approach the mail delivery. I was wondering, like, I feel like you could just get out of the truck and just deliver everything on foot. Like, you could walk around the entire lake, I think. It would take quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there was, like, a real-time day-night cycle or anything where you would just run out of time to do your deliveries. I feel like time would just sort of advance slightly every time you made a delivery.
Oh, okay. So it's not like, oh, it's 4 o'clock, you better hurry up.
Yeah, right. Should have taken the truck. But a lot of aspects of the game feel very open. Like, maybe you do some on-foot deliveries, or... Actually, in some cases it doesn't feel open, because at one point I thought, oh, maybe I'll go check out the diner after work, because at some point you have to do deliveries at the diner and you meet all your old friends there. And when I tried to do that, not only could I not get into the diner, but I looked into the window and there was just no one in there. So I was like, oh, so I guess some things are just scripted. I guess you can only go to the diner at certain points. So it's not a true, like, open world game. Not that kind of experience, but I feel like they do leave you to your own devices for most of it, which is was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, so I had a pretty good time with it. I don't know if it was anything, like, earth-shattering, but it was a good way to spend the weekend. Just, chill out and deliver some mail. Pretty good.
Cool. Well, that's good too.
This just looking through this developer's catalog, it seems like a lot of the other games they've done look like sort of abstract puzzle games. So this seems like an enormous leap for them. I think it, considering that especially, I think it turned out really well.
Cool. Anything we've heard of? Anything we've played?
I hadn't heard of any of them.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure.
Nice.
Anyway, that's Lake. It's out, I believe, on Xbox and Steam. Not sure if it is planned to show up on other platforms later.
Cool. All right. Well, good week all around. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this thing up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on our Discord. The Backlog Attack continues there. We do have a dedicated channel to people who want to talk about old games and try to clean those out of their collections. We also have sort of our general chat. We have an Animal Crossing room. We have a video game music room. So if you like any of those things and have strong opinions about them and want to share with others, definitely go to VGHangover.com and get a link to our Discord.
What's going on with that Animal Crossing room? Somebody got to send a search party and make sure those guys are okay.
It's a little quiet in there these days. Yeah, I pop in every now and then and update the world, but I feel like maybe I'm the only one carrying that torch right now.
All we need to do is just turn that into a Stardew Valley room. That'll get things going again.
This is sort of a general kind of like life farming sim kind of room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life farming sims, mail delivery, those kinds of things.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you can get a podcast, and help us out by telling your friends about the show.
Yeah, we would really appreciate it. It's one of the best ways to help us get the word out, attract some new listeners, all that good stuff.
We love when somebody pops into the Discord and they're like, hey, I'm a friend of this other person who's in your Discord, and she told me about your show, and now I listen, and now I'm hanging out in your Discord.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Exciting. I'm
a big fan of that. That's cool.
How many friends can you refer to our Discord in a week? That's the new challenge. Go. I don't know. You don't need to do that. But what you should do is head on over to heavyviper.bandcamp.com and download some music from Hal Binerman, who provided our intro and outro music this week. Did the whole thing backwards. How about that?
Nice.
But yeah, please do that. It's a lot of good stuff there. Again, that's heavyviper.bandcamp.com. Check it out.
Cool. We will be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thank you so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Good night.
Bye.